This is a Middle Fork trip report for August 19th to 25th, 2023. It's our first trip down the Middle Fork Salmon after a lot of preparation and anticipation. Recent thunderstorms have changed our plans from all big rafts down to inflatable kayaks, and then in the end, we ended up adding one 16-foot raft. We drove up on Saturday morning expecting a rough first few days with the logjams and blowouts in the first 5 miles of the river. And then we had forecast for 6 inches of rain and thunderstorms starting Saturday night through Tuesday. Our permit allowed us to put on Sunday, but we hope to launch on Saturday to beat the impending storm. We're the only ones at Boundary Creek at the put in, and the river ranger was pretty skeptical of our plans. She grilled us a few hours on preparation, planning, and knowledge, and ultimately she was okay with us launching on Saturday. So we took off about 2:20 p.m. Started out great with beautiful crystal clear water, blue skies. We were making about 3 miles an hour on the water and enjoying, seeing some of the blowouts. And then we came to Sulphur Slide. Huge boulders, trees, dirt pushed down the canyon into the river with log piles, making it very difficult. And so we decided to line the boats through it. There were four of us all together. We had two people on the rope, two people downstream helping catch the boat as it came down to the eddies, and it worked all right. I would have, if I'm doing it again, I would tie down the oars better and just really be prepared for the load of a heavy boat. You can see here it gets a little hung up, and then when it breaks free, it really breaks free and pulls, and there's a lot of force there. I had only lined a boat a couple times previously, and this was definitely a lot harder with a loaded boat. I think we were all pretty excited to get on the river and a little nervous as well, knowing what was ahead of us, but also not knowing what had changed over the couple weeks since the thunderstorms had caused all these blowouts. There was a lot of wood all over the place, and we all worked together as a team and really did a great job. And we're successful getting it through this first big blowout. The low sulfur slide was the blowout from a year ago at Ramshorn, which canceled our trip from the prior year. So, like I said, we had a lot of anticipation, anxiety, knowing what we had to face, and really wanted to get this trip done this year, despite all the challenges. Low flows. I got hung up on a rock there, but was able to spin off of it. It was just really amazing to see what the river had done to that blowout last year, eating away into a 15-foot wall. This is Hell's Half Mile. Another blowout had pinched the river towards the left bank, making for a fun wave train. And then the river opened back up at the bottom. Here we scouted and saw a bear below us. There were three different channels. Right channel had really low flow, lots of logs. Left channel was really shallow, but not too many logs. I decided to run the middle channel, had the most flow, most water, but had a narrow chute. I ended up missing shipping my right oar, heard a big crunch, and it snapped. So I was down an oar right out of the gate there. This was the blowout at Velvet Falls. Again, another log jam at the top. It was a little easier to walk over the debris fan and get below it. And then we got to Big Bend to camp for the night and woke up to rain in the morning. We put on the river at 10 a.m. and it rained all day long. Our goal was to get to Indian Creek, check in, and get our camps assigned, make sure that we were okay. So we ran through the chutes. Again, getting hung up here for a couple minutes, but I was able to move around a little bit, push and pull, and finally got unstuck. The flow when we started was 1.74 feet, and I definitely learned how many rocks are in this river. They are just all over the place. A lot of rock dodging. It was a lot of fun to try and figure out the puzzle basically of where to go, where to find the flow. I was in a 16-foot round boat. We kept it pretty light, no cooler, no dry box. We brought all dried foods, and it seemed to work pretty well. I didn't have too many issues getting stuck. If it did get stuck, I was able to pull it off on my own. We did stop at Sheep Eater Camp, soaked in shallow hot springs to warm up, and that was really nice. And I started off in splash gear, but ended up putting on a Farmer John wetsuit. We were just soaked from the nonstop rain. And it rained hard in the morning, lightened up in the afternoon, but never really stopped. Another thing I learned was to pack the bags relatively lightly. I had one dry bag that I tried to cram everything into it. I think it weighed 65 pounds. And I really should have just split that up into two 30-pound bags. This is Upper Powerhouse Rapid. We ended up not scouting anything once we got past the logjams, and this is one I wish I had scouted and just found a cleaner line. Maybe there isn't one. I tried to take the middle and got stuck in there for a little bit, and then did get loose and found the right channel. But there's so many different ways to go through here. It would have been nice to have a plan ahead of time and really pick the right one. But in the end, it worked out just fine. Didn't have any issues. Got unstuck with a little bit of pulling and pushing. This is Pistol Creek. Again, just ran the far left. And the IKs ran that middle chute there just to the right of the Can Opener Rock. I was just surprised how pushy it was past here through the S turn. Probably could have done a downstream ferry and got through this, but the other thing I learned was this boat with the floor that fills up with water was really fast. I would say I had to push a lot of moves, whereas normally with an I-beam floor I can pull and slow down quite a bit. It was really tough. We made it to Indian Creek at 4 o'clock, saw the outfitters sitting on the beach in a big tarp waiting for customers. They had 40 flights land on Saturday, but only 2 made it on Sunday with the low clouds and visibility. Strong thunderstorms that afternoon again. We heard caused some blowouts upriver. Next morning, we stopped at Sunflower Hot Springs, had a good warm up there, and a decent mellow float down. We had hung everything up on a line to dry it out. Next morning, a little bit of blue skies for a change, but then the rain kicked in again. This is Marble Creek Rapid. Rapids in the middle section of the river are pretty mellow overall. Tuesday, day 4, we stopped at Loon Creek for lunch and Hot Springs and chatted up with the Hardex outfitters. It was a beautiful day, but we did have one last thunderstorm. Next morning, the river was a dark chocolate brown as we ran Tappan Falls. A little more difficult to read the river. Hard to see rocks. Even the foam was brown. This is Cove Creek Rapid. Pretty straightforward as well, though there's some big holes in there that you don't get to see until the last minute. We ended up stopping at the Shark Fin Pictographs for lunch, hiked up to the overhanging rock, and these are the times when I wish I had a historian, a geologist, botanist, a couple biologists with me on the trips to explain all the history, what we're looking at. It's just such a beautiful area. This is Haystack Rapid. When I'm realizing this is now my 3rd boat season, except this frame is a little wide. It's really difficult to ship both oars going back and forth just because it's so wide. So I ended up shipping one oar forward, one oar back. Yeah, still learning as I get more experience. Our 5th day, the weather was great. Skies were clear. We got to enjoy a nice fire and clear night under the stars at Short Creek Camp. Day 6, this is Cutthroat Cove. Beautiful blue skies, warm temps. I was wearing shorts finally. This is Wall Creek Rapid or Porcupine. It's the last rapid I got before my SD card corrupted on me, unfortunately, so I missed all the last day rapids. We stopped at Rattlesnake Cave for the pictographs, cooled down at Vale Falls for lunch, and then stopped at the Tombstone pictographs, which were really amazing. Saw our first bald eagle. The upper part of the river was all osprey, some mountain goats, and then a small bear was heading downstream, following us along. Fortunately, he was across the river from our camp. We were supposed to stay at Lightning Camp, but wanted to make a short last day of it, so we moved down to Weasel, which made for a nice short trip out on our last day. It was a good trip. Thanks.